consecutive weeks as required by law, accepting a proposal from the Arizona Municipal Risk Retention Pool for workers' compensation insurance for fiscal year 2018 through 19, and accepting a proposal from the Arizona Municipal Risk Retention Pool for risk insurance, property and liability, and the employee health insurance premiums. We have finance and the city attorney. Would you, before I guess we go in, I guess we'll just start with a motion to approve, I guess, and
so move.
And then we have a
second.
Motion to approve and a second. Open for discussion. If you would like to say something, Jeanette.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Jeanette Parrales, Finance Director. You have before you several documents that will replace the documents that were distributed on June 6th. First of all, we have the organizational chart that has been updated. There was a recent reclassification of an individual to assistant city manager, and under that he has been assigned departments that he will oversee. And then and as well the deputy city manager has been assigned departments that he will oversee as well. So that can replace the org chart that you had previously had in your book. And then the next item that's been distributed is the state schedules, and these are the schedules that will be published in the Nogales International on July 3rd and on July 11th if the tentative budget is approved this evening. The next document I've handed out to you is one. It's a summary of all the line items found in our budget, just to give you an idea as to how much payroll is, FICA, Medicare, supplies, everything broken out. It's not broken out by department like for general fund. It is a total amount, but the other funds are in detail. So I thought this would give you a better idea as to how much is in each fund. The second to the last item is a revised capital expense listing. We have added a few items since we last met. We've allocated $1.5 million for the Chase building. We added a copier to finance for $10,000. The library, police, and fire vehicles were presented at the last budget meeting. We've added $130,000 for Keno Park improvements, and then $18,000 for Karen Park. And I think that's the only additional items that were added after the last meeting. And then the final document is a listing of all the streets that will be improved this upcoming fiscal year. It's just a listing of the streets and the dollar amounts, and those will all be incorporated into the final document. So in addition to that, I just prepared a brief PowerPoint presentation to go over the numbers. And this shows the dollar amounts for the operating budget for next year. The numbers in black is what was originally presented on June 6th. And the numbers are green are the new amounts. So general fund went from $24,452,723 to $24,482,946. So it has an increase of $30,000 to $23,000. And my next slide will show why the changes occurred. HERF went up $210,000 from 4.6 to 4.8. Sewer remained the same. Water went down $148,000. Sanitation increased by $3,779, and Nogales Housing Authority stayed the same. So here are the changes. For general fund, it was the reclassification of the position, and then the one-time payment that was proposed was increased from $750 to $1,000 net of taxes and any other EREs obligated to pay. And I didn't put on there, but you should know that there was the recalculation of our bond payment, so it did go down a little bit in the next 6 months, which helped offset the increase of the 1,000 one-time payment. And basically that was it. We did put some additional money for the general plan that P&Z will be working on. And basically that's it in general fund. For her, we received our final distribution number from the state, and so there was an increase of 210,000. Sewer, there was no change. Water, and in sewer, so the bond calculation did impact all the funds, but since we had that increase of the one-time payment amount, they offset each other. Water, we reduced it by 148,000. For the same reason, the bond calculation gave us some savings. And then sanitation was increased a little bit to cover the one-time payment. The amount that is paid out of sanitation for the bonds is very small, so it wasn't enough to cover the cost of that increase. So the total was 96,044. And I also wanted to show you what the possibilities that the city has as far as grants or state and federal monies. The court receives money from the state every quarter, and then they also have a one-time payment fee that is set aside for them to use. So that's potentially 268,000. City attorney has the victims' rights grant, which gives them 10,000 every year. The library has a few, the E-rate, I think that's has to do something with helps purchase equipment. And then they have all the SIGIA, which I'm not sure what that stands for. Mostly for the part-time employees. And then the police, there's their Stone Garden, their governor's office, highway safety monies, their seizures monies, anything that they receive from the AG's office. Fire has also applied for some Stone Garden grants. And then parks is the Tohono O'odham, any potential money that we might receive from them. And then an additional is the capital, which is the list that we reviewed right now. The development fees for sewer and water. And then we have internal services, and so that's their budget, but just keep in mind that that money is spread out over the other funds as they incur expenses. Every fund helps pay for the expenses they incur. Community Against Poverty, that's money that was established many years ago. In the past, we had not budgeted this money, but it was recently used to help Boys and Girls Club to give them that grant. So we went ahead and budgeted this year, and then I just put that it is restricted, and I think it has to be presented before Mayor and Council to have it used. And then the additional funding, the $8 million, that's kind of just like a safety net for the city. If there should happen to be some award from the governor or another entity, which we did not anticipate, this gives us just a little bit of flexibility to be able to incorporate that throughout the year. And so in the end, our operating budget is 41 million, our grants is 3.2, and then our capital and additional funding is 13.2 to give us a total of 57,943,286. And so I did want to point out that in the council order, it has the original amount that was presented on June 6th. And since we've made a few modifications, one of them is that we didn't have the development fees incorporated into that number, and as well as the Chase building. I don't think that was in there as well. But this is the total budget that you potentially, hopefully, will approve tonight, and this is what will be published in the newspaper.
Yes, Dr. Barona.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the fine job in preparing this budget and spending time again with me. And I know you spent time with individual council members. You worked diligently along with Ms. Fiscal
Yes.
to get this together, and I thank you very much for the wonderful work that both of you did.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure on one thing here now, Dr. Felix, on this 401 proposition with public safety. According to when it was passed in the year 2000, the quarter-cent sales tax, we should have 65 police officers on our force. And I think as of today, we have 55 police officers. And is there an agreement there from your office, Dr. Felix, that every year for the next 3 years to capture these 10 police officers, that you're going to hire 3 police officers a year for the next 3 years so that we can get back to our normal staffing?
Councilman Barona, that's the case, yes,
Okay,
we're planning for that.
just wanted to make sure. And there's only, the budget, there's only one individual position that we're talking about that's new, and that's the assistant city manager?
That's correct.
Okay. Dr. Felix, could you just provide some justification for the position of the assistant city manager?
Dr. Barona, one of the main primary rationale is that we are focused on the strategic plan and making sure all the departments are progressing to meet the plan objectives and goals, and that position will accommodate that process across all departments, so that we just needed someone to head up the program, make sure things get done, and departments are online on time for meeting the goals and objectives as adopted by the council, primarily.
You're going to make sure that our strategic plan is implemented as indicated. Okay?
In a timely manner.
Also, Dr. Felix, in the month of December, we've gone from a traditional $500 in bonus pay to $1,000 in bonus pay clear, as long as our revenues are coming in, but it does go from 500 to 1,000
Right.
bonus pay. Okay? Also, we had some discussion to make sure we had a nice presentation on the bicycle path over there, and you put in that $5,000 in the Parks and Recreation budget for the bicycle path in case they needed something. There seems to be a lot of enthusiasm in our community, and you know, I picked up a strong support from the mayor and council on this project. So I know $5,000 a little, but every little bit helps. Is that in there?
Yes, we have the 5,000 included, and we're also reaching out to AmeriCorps for some volunteer help to help with the development of trails and all that. So the partnerships continue to expand in terms of making sure that the Carlo project is up and ready as quickly as possible.
Okay. And I had read something, we talked about a partnership with the county on economic development. Is that in the budget there, in case this goes through? What are your plans to do that? Because I was reading some things that are happening in the city of Flagstaff on how they're bringing high-tech jobs over to the city of Flagstaff with their own incubator there. But they don't call it an economic development director, and I kind of like their title. Their title is called Bring Jobs to Flagstaff Director. And you know, if we could have a lot more accountability with a title like that, Bring Jobs to Nogales Director, so then we could monitor, hey, that's your responsibility. We want you to get jobs and bring them over here into our community and give us something what we can do, some alternatives, maybe some investments on our part on Morley Avenue or someplace else. Is there anything that you've done in the budget with that?
Councilman Barona, we've not placed any money in the budget right now. The plan is to have Ms. Kissinger and I continue to work closely with the county to evolve a plan of action, identify specifically where we need to go. Second, to identify what costs should be reasonable to move along as quickly as possible. So we've not come up with a number, just the partnership is evolving pretty strongly with the county in terms of economic development at both city and county levels. So we've not forged the plan yet, but we're working towards that.
Okay, just something before, you know, we're going to have to do something to assist if they want our assistance. If they want to remain status quo on Morley Avenue, well, let them remain status quo on Morley Avenue. It hurts us with our sales tax revenue, but maybe you can get together, because Main Street has a survey out from various stakeholders in the community, and they've paid for this survey results, and maybe you could get together with Mr. Herman and find out what you could present to this council to see if there's anything that we could do with that. And are we still funding the Port Authority and the Chamber of Commerce $50,000 apiece?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it would be nice, the chambers, and then they give us monthly reports and everything, but it would be nice if we could get an annual report from both of them, just so that the community knows what's going on there too. Because sometimes they don't realize, you know, we put in money, we put in an investment into them. So I'd like for the community to know what they're getting in return.
Councilman Barona, one of the things I'm going to do is from here on is sit down with both the Port Authority and the Chamber to talk about metrics that they can work towards and really identify return on investment for the city's investment into the two organizations. And so the reports we've got are just numbers and the likes, but we want some solid goals in line with the strategic plan that they plan to work with us more closely and the county in terms of accomplishing some return on investment for the $100,000 that we spend with both organizations. So we just need to sit down with them and work that out. So with the new contract, we're going to be a little bit more specific about what the expectations are.
Well, I think this budget is a good example of how well the mayor and council have worked together to set up progress of this community going forward. Especially what was with this retreat that we had, where we got a lot of things off of our shoulders. We said we want to have a retreat to talk about the budget for next year. I thought we're all working together, moving forward, and this budget is a good example, especially how we're treating as best as we can our employees and doing the best that we can to improve our capital programs and everything, especially within our public safety departments. So you guys did a good job and everything's worked well, and real happy how the mayor and council are working cohesively on this budget to move forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Barona. Councilman Lucero.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking at our sales tax, local sales tax revenue, I noticed that it wasn't tracking, or at least right now it's not tracking with what was budgeted last year, and then we're looking at an increase from last year's budgeted in the proposed we're looking at an increase. So are we still short getting an update on our sales tax revenue, and if so, do you think we're going to be on budget?
I need to check that number, but I can certainly prepare something and put it in your box to just see where we're at.
Because we're about $500,000 short of what we budgeted, so I figure we'll probably be close to. And I guess the concern is looking at what's happening with the peso. I guess I'm not as optimistic in seeing an increase in our sales tax. I would just caution staff in being prepared to implement contingency plans should things continue going the direction they're going. With that, looking at your capital expenses, at least the proposed plan, the big ticket item there is the Chase Bank building improvements. Wondering if we could look at the possibility of doing some sort of financing to spread that cost out over maybe the life of the building or the improvements that we intend to make there. And I don't know if this cost includes the building itself, or if it includes renovations that need to take place with this building, or if that's included as well, and if it's all-inclusive, including furnishings, et cetera, that need to take place. So my suggestion would be, let's look at this thing holistically and maybe spread that cost out over an extended period of time, so that way we don't take a $1.5 billion hit, especially if things get rough.
Councilman Lucero, that's one of the alternative plans that we have in mind in terms of the building itself. We didn't want the building to sit another year or 2 years. We wanted to implement something at this point in the plan, and if it's alternative, borrowing against the revenues, that we plan to do that, but we want to expedite getting into that building as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think we've had the discussion of looking at maybe a certificate of participation and doing a private placement and maybe get a good interest rate and
Yes, absolutely.
15-year term and get everything we want and then have that money available should things go south. Dr. Verona mentioned the proposed bonuses, and one of the things I brought out during the budget was looking at comp and classification analysis. Is that going to be included in the budget, undertaking that sort of a study?
Yes, it is.
That's a priority.
50,000 has been budgeted for.
And so I'm happy to hear that. I'm sure the employees would be happy to hear that as well, knowing that we'll have somebody independent come and do a market analysis and see if we're paying what we should be paying the employees. With that in mind, the concern I have is I'm supportive of the salary increase. The bonus, though, is not going to solve the problem if we're deficient in paying our employees. I would like us to look, instead of at a bonus, doing a salary adjustment based on whatever that bonus totaled. So I don't know, what is the total cost for the $1,000 bonus?
Like 325,000.
So would it be possible to look at that as maybe a percentage salary adjustment and apply it to the employees, so it's a permanent adjustment as opposed to a one-time?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeanette, it comes out to about a 2% increase.
Yes, 2%.
If we were to opt for a percentage across the board, what that presents is kicking the problem down the road as opposed to addressing it. What we'd like to do is, and we started working on it, is developing an action plan that really addresses the disparity among some of the pay ranges as quickly as possible, and then work in conjunction with a compensation study.
So at least the way Dr. Verona has phrased this, it would be looked at roughly mid-year, depending on how revenues are. So if we have this as a placeholder, we could maybe look at it instead of a bonus, making it a permanent salary adjustment. That's what at least I'd like Mayor and Council to consider. So as long as we have that amount budgeted, we can maybe look at it at that point in time and maybe come back with a recommendation whether it's a bonus or a permanent salary adjustment. I like Dr. Varona's suggestion on bringing jobs, but I would probably be more supportive of keeping jobs in terms of an economic development director position.
That's a good point.
On the finance, on the copier, is that going to be a purchase or a lease?
It'll be a purchaser.
Have you looked at lease options for the copier, because copiers don't have a long life, and it's
And actually, the one that we're currently using, our color copy, we've had it for 10 years. So.
they don't make them like that anymore.
Well, then maybe we'll keep the one we have.
And I think the last thing I had was I'd like to see if we can get Linda Vista on that street paving program. I'm tired of driving up and down that street, and just I'm having to replace my shocks. So I know there's somebody else that lives on Linda Vista would probably appreciate that road being surfaced in the near future. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
You, Councilman? We have Vice Mayor, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Dr. Felix, the Chamber and the Port Authority, how are they getting paid, and when do they get paid? I've been contacted by both of those organizations, and sometimes they're affected in the way they are getting paid. Is there a certain way that they're receiving those funds?
Well, Councilman Rojas, they submit invoices on a monthly basis, and I just got invoice for the chamber for the past 5 months. We're processing payment now, and so that the invoice is required to be submitted before checks can be cut.
And both of the organizations are managed in that way?
Right, as they submit the invoices, payments are made.
Thank you, Dr. Felix. Thank you, Mayor.
I guess I just want to get a little more clarification on that. They're not sending their invoices on time, is that what?
Well, I just received, Mayor, invoice for the last 5 months.
Saying they should be doing it on a monthly basis?
They, for operating purposes, I would suspect that would benefit them a lot more.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you, Mayor.
well, okay, go ahead.
Just a quick point on Mr. Lucero's comment for us as council. Previous mayor and council have spent money on a study for salary compensation, okay? If we're gonna spend $50,000, then this council better be prepared to implement that. Because what happens is they spend this money for this study, and then they say we can't implement it this way, we gotta piecemeal it, nothing happens, and the study becomes invalid. So if we're gonna spend $50,000, I hope that when they come back with a study, as Mr. Lucero has alluded to, that we're prepared to do something and not just let it go and say, like you say, Doc, kick the can down. Because we can only kick it so far and that's it. So if we're gonna spend $50,000, let's be prepared to come back and make decisions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Arona. Councilman Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor. Janet, just a quick question here. I think on fleet, I think they were reversed. 2 car lifts, 50,000, 1 forklift, 18,000. I think they should be reversed, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So-
We'll correct that.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Okay, well, and thank you very much, you and your team, for doing such a great job with this budget and all the hard work and effort you put into it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And I noticed that we are going to get 5 squad cars with everything ready for this.
Yes, 5 new police vehicles are in the budget. 5 for police, 2 for fire, and then 1 for the library.
And sanitation will get one.
And the
of
sanitation truck, yes, sir.
those.
I think we're going in the right
We're
direction.
going in the right direction. That's right. Anything else that anybody else would like to make a comment or question? Yes, Councilman
The
Lucero?
only thing I'd like to add is that you did a great job with putting the budget together. Thank you and your staff. Dr. Felix, you and your staff are to be commended. Very, very good budget process compared to previous years. It was nice to be included this time around, so thank you. Thank all of you.
Thank you.
Good words, Councilman.
Echo those comments.
And I would also like to thank everyone, Mayor and Council, Dr. Felix's department, and all the department directors. We've all worked together, and this budget is a success because of all of us, not just one department. So we recognize that it takes a team to get this put together.
Good job, John.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
good job.
It's amazing what we can do when we work together.
Yeah, and we liked your attitude that you kind of gave us the time we needed, worked right along with us. I hope we didn't frustrate you at any moment, but you were very conscientious about what you were doing and very clear,
Yes.
very concise. Thank
And
you.
I respect that you need to be transparent and you all need to be aware of what's going on. Because as Councilman Lucero once said, you're the ones that are making the final decision in Dr. Guadalupe, so you need to know.
Thank you.
Mayor, Councilman Henesian has something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Niscana, I didn't realize you. I should have. I noticed you were moving around.
Councilman Corona wants to put words in my mouth.
Oh,
I'm not going to bite.
okay. We'll make a pass on that. And, yes, Dr.
Two announcements. Sheila Murphy will be coming in July 26th to address the directors in terms of the goals and objectives been adopted, number 1. 2, have them understand the premise of your decisions, and then get them to understand that we need to work together to accomplish those goals as soon as possible. Second, there will be the executive Director of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns will be here July 24th at 4 p.m. to give an update on the legislative session. And we've invited, Sawarita will attend and Benson will attend. That's it.
Thank you, Doctor, for that announcement. I guess if anybody, no one else has anything else to say, I think I covered the budget pretty well, and we took all the time we needed. So I'd like to call for the question of approving this tentative budget.
Call for the question.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None? Motion carries unanimously. And before we adjourn, I would just like to bring out that we did have to change the meeting date because of the 4th of July. And on the following Wednesday, we're invited to the State of the City address to Douglas with our mayor, Roberto Uribe. And we kind of want to support our border mayor, so we will probably be over there that day. Could we make that meeting for the 4th of July on the Thursday the 12th?
I think that would be a good day.
Is that
Thursday the
okay?
12th?
Thursday, is that okay with everyone? At the same time, 5 o'clock here at City Hall on the 12th of July.
I'll be here on the 12th.
No? You're going to stay in Douglas?
No, I've got a meeting with Pima College on the 12th.
Would you like to?
Depends what, if we do, how late are we, if we do a later meeting at 6, like I could do that.
He just said it the same
On the
hours.
12th?
On 12, is it okay, 6
6
o'clock,
o'clock.
okay?
Sure.
I can do that.
All right, we'll do it at 6 o'clock then.
Yeah. I think you mentioned it and I put it down at 6.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so we'll do it at 6 on the 12th.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. All right, so that, the only other thing that, before we adjourn, I think Councilman George Maldonado had just a couple of things you wanted to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, just want to bring up everybody up to date. It's baseball time. Little League tournaments are coming around to Nogales. We're going to have tournaments starting on Friday. Little League Park, we'll have the 8 and 10 age division starting, and at Fletcher Field, we'll have the intermediate playing at Fletcher Field. Little League starts at 5, Fletcher Field starts at 6. But Little League will have games from basically June 29th all the way through July 11th, with excluding Sundays and 4th of July. So come on and cheer the teams. We're expecting basically 5 teams coming in from out of town: Cerro Vista, Bisbee, Douglas, Wilcox, and Benson. So Fletcher Field will be playing only Cerro Vista. Then we have the state tournament for the intermediate, which is at Fletcher Field, starting on July 9th. For that one, we have 4 teams coming, actually 5 teams coming from out of state. And then our regional tournament starts on July 18th through the 26th. That one we've got right now: Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, Northern Cal, Southern Cal. Utah has put a bid to come for the first time, and Nevada is on the verge of confirming. But come and support everybody here in Nogales. Oh, and also on the 18th at 3 o'clock, that tournament will have its parade, starting at 3 o'clock and concluding at Fletcher Field around 4, and basically having an opening ceremony at 5. So come and support Nogales baseball, and we'll be putting up some banners reminding everybody, it's not every day we get visitors in town. So thank you for everything you guys do. Parks and Rec, thank you for everything you do, and, council, thank you for supporting the league.
Thank you, Councilman, and again, you're all invited to the parade that day and all the festivities. This year, there's gonna be a little difference. We're gonna, when we do the parade, start before the parade, we're gonna have a flag ceremony there by the old courthouse. For those that haven't heard, and you'd like to be there, honoring our flag and commemorating that day, I think that would be a good start.
That's for the 4th of July.
That's for the 4th of July. Thank you. Anybody else? You wanna call it? Yes.
Question, the deal in Douglas is at what time?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
5 o'clock. And Letty, if you could email them and tell them that all of us will be there.
Thank you. Okay. See no other comments or further business, have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, no nays. Motion carried unanimously.
See if you can get a van for us, rent the van so we can all go in one van. Instead of paying.
This meeting is adjourned.
I'm gonna go over because I'm gonna stay over. I'm staying over, I'm not even coming back.
So we can all go on one.
Douglas?